Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to another episode of the Steelers Burning Question. This is Behind the Steel Curtain Deputy Editor Dave Schofield coming at you this week. Since we do this show on a rotating basis, I know you've had Jeff Hartman last week. I think the week before might have been Lance Williams. I think you might have Brian Anthony Davis next week, unless I got the order mixed up. But either way, it's Saturday afternoon. I know some of you all might be wondering when this show goes off on a Saturday. Frankly, it depends on who's up, who's hosting, and who's ready to do it. And when they're ready to do it, I guess I should say. And my kids want to watch a movie tonight. So therefore, I'm like, let's go ahead and knock this out of the park right now in the afternoon in case other people have stuff they have going on. So we're going to be here to answer this question. If you're watching live on YouTube or later on YouTube, you might see that there's a little bit more of a glow to me. That's because in the office here, we have a lot of natural lighting. And because it's the daytime, I've got a lot of light coming in here. So hopefully the reflection's not too bad off my glasses. But I'm glad that some of you are here and ready to go. So hopefully the notification went out. So I'm going to jump into this question. I see some people coming in and saying hello in the live chat. I will get to you all here after I do the little spiel. And hopefully we get some great dialogue going on. But I was thinking about what would be a good question. And I know the NFL draft's coming up 2 weeks from today. We'll be looking right now and being like, all right, what do the Steelers got? Because this will be the final day of the draft. The NFL saying that they're moving forward. Go forward, move ahead. Oh, sorry. We don't need to whip it right now. They're going forward with the draft with although some teams, they're going to have problems with how many people they can have at the facility and things like that. There might be doing a lot of, online meetings as to, through Zoom or whatnot in order to discuss what they're doing with the draft. I know I heard a report that the Steelers' plans are Mike Tomlin and Kevin Colbert and Art Rooney II, and maybe one other person will be at the facility, and everyone else they'll be contacting remotely. So that's the draft. That's the way it's going to be this year. And as far as we know, the NFL keeps saying it's going to happen. There would have to be something pretty big to change that. So the thing is, other than the draft being canceled at the last minute or something like that, what would be the most shocking move the Steelers could make in the 2020 NFL draft? I actually have a top 5. So I'm going to throw out 5, and I'm going to kind of throw them out in a little bit of a random order. I'm going to be weird. I'm going to start with number 2. I'm going to start with what I think is the second most because it's going to lead into the most, and then we'll go from there. I would be the most shocked, or I guess would say the second most shocked, if the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 2020 NFL draft traded back into the first round. They've made big moves in the past. They moved up last year to take Devin Bush. Therefore, they don't have their regular third-round pick this year. They traded for Minkah Fitzpatrick. They don't have their first-round pick this year. To make that move, to move back up into the first round would completely shock me. It's not. Just so you know, all these things that I'm going to bring up aren't things that are so shocking they're beyond the realm of possibility. I mean, I'm not going to say that the Steelers trade away every draft pick to have a higher pick next year. I'm not going to say something like that. These are realistic, legitimate things the Steelers could do. So number 2 for me is for them trading all the way back up into the first round. Now, could they trade up in the second round to get a higher pick if someone has been falling and they think, hey, if I move up 4 or 5 spots, we're going to get someone that we never would have imagined? I could see that happening. But to move all the way back up into the first round to where they're drafting on that first day, that would really surprise me. But the thing that would surprise me even more, my number 1, is if they traded back. Because when you don't get a pick until pick 49, I would be absolutely shocked if they said, nope, we don't even need 49. We're going to move back from that and get another pick later. The only way I could see that realistically happening is if there's 4 or 5 guys that the Steelers are like, man, we are ready to take any of these guys at this position. And someone's like, hey, we need to move up 4 spots. and is going to throw in another pick, like let's say maybe even another 4th-round pick or something, depending on how far up they'd be moving and have to drop back. I could see that happening, but it would have to play out so perfectly that the Steelers would know that they would still have basically one of several options that they would have at 49 in order to move back out of that. And, other times I could see, well, maybe they trade back. But with that being your top pick in the draft, I just don't see them trading back out of that one. So those are my two biggest things is seeing that 49th pick being traded either to where they go up into the first round or they trade back with it. I could maybe see a slight move up, but I would say more. But if I had to put money on it, and I'm sure the odds would be terrible to put money on it, I say that the Steelers stand pat and take the best player available at 49. So that's the first two things that I think of. Now, the next thing I would have to say would be, I would be shocked if the Steelers did not draft an offensive lineman after the draft is all said and done. I would be very surprised if they went this whole draft and did not at least try to get some sort of depth piece in order to get younger at the position moving forward, because they've got so many guys whose age starts with 3, and that means that you've got to have other guys coming in if you want to stay with that. So I would be surprised. I would be shocked if they did not draft any kind of offensive lineman. Actually, I'm thinking they're going to draft 2. I think that they will draft. There's a better possibility of them drafting 2 offensive linemen than 0 offensive linemen. So people will probably think because it's me, I'm going to say something about running back. No, I wouldn't be shocked about anything with running back. I wouldn't be shocked if they took a running back with their top pick. I don't know that they need to, but that's not shocking to me. So some people that think, oh, well, David is running backs. No, not like that. So that's those so far. I would also be shocked if the Steelers did not draft a linebacker of some sort. Particularly, I think they need an inside linebacker just to have more depth there at all. I believe they'll probably address both positions at some point in the draft. But if they addressed neither of them, that would be shocking to me, to draft no offensive linemen or no linebackers of any sort. That's something that I think would be shocking. And to round out my top 5, I'm going to say I would be shocked, because they do it every year, if the Steelers didn't take a wide receiver at some point, anywhere across the board, because that's just one of those positions that they are constantly bringing in, whether with a high pick, low pick, or something like that. My honorable mention was something that I think I saw at some point in the live chat, although I'm not really looking at it, that it just flashed up there, is quarterback. I would be shocked if the Steelers, this one would have ranked pretty high if I think about it this way. Man, I'm going to have to change my list, because I would be shocked if the Steelers took a quarterback in the 4th round or later, because basically, what's the point? What's the point? I mean, if the right guy fell to you in the 3rd round and you really wanted to take a flyer, I understand. If the right guy fell to you in the 2nd round and you're like, you know what? We weren't wanting our top overall pick to have to step on the field at all this year anyway, so we're going to invest in the future. I mean, I would rather them not do that, but if they did it, I could see that happening. But really, if they were to take a quarterback in the 4th round or later, I would really say, what's the point? What's the point? Because are you really going to upgrade over what you had at that point in the draft? I mean, it would have to be someone. I mean, it doesn't mean it's beyond the realm of possibility. I mean, everyone still wants to throw it out there. Well, Tom Brady, he was drafted in the 6th round. Yes, he was. There you go. But as we know, Tom Brady is the exception, not the rule. So you can't just say, oh, we're going to wait till later and we're going to find one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. No. I mean, honestly, it's really hard to find a 2nd round quarterback that's that game changing. So let alone further down. So I think that's just me. That's how I feel. I think all of those moves would be shocking. I don't know what you all think would be the most shocking. I don't know if there's something else that you think is pretty shocking. So I have not been looking at the live chat so far. So I'm going to type something in there right now to ask you all what you think. And from that point on is when I'm going to start reading your comments. So if you said something that was really good before this time and you want to type it over and put it in there or whatever you have to do, that was when I will see it in order to address it on the show. You could also, if you really want to fire off another question that kind of is involved with this question, I'm all right with that as well. If you want your question to definitely be answered, or if you want your answer to this question to definitely be brought up, you can use the super chat feature, which is you type in what you want to say, then you hit that $, you donate any amount you want to the show, and I will guarantee that I bring it up. Don't feel like you have to use it. I'm going to get as many as I can. I just can't guarantee it otherwise, because I also don't want to lose focus too much on the actual podcast. But if that comes up, I will definitely do it. So that's your options. So let's see what we have here. Here we go. Explore your world. He says, other than safety, I don't see a single pressing defensive need after free agency. Depends on if you're talking about, I mean, I wouldn't even put safety on the top of the list of needs for defense. It would be in my top 3. But all of these needs would be depth needs. Like I could see the Steelers needing more depth at outside linebacker. They definitely need more depth at inside linebacker. They could use, quality safety depth of someone who could even come on in sub package and dime package. But honestly, especially on the defensive side of the ball, drafting someone high, really tough to crack the starting lineup. The only position I could really see that would be the easiest shot at cracking the starting lineup where they draft would be as if they drafted a nose tackle at that point. And I don't think this draft is set up definitely to do that. I don't believe they'll do that, but that could be shocking. But that's how they stand on the defense. Okay. So Lance is doing his, thank you very much, Lance. Lance, jump on in if you want to. Come on the show if you want to right now. All you got to do is, the website, you have the password. Come on in and join the program if you want. Because he said the 49th pick is worth 410 points. This is using the trade calculator, which sometimes undervalues some stuff. I think they overvalue late in the draft and sometimes undervalue what teams really want when you're wanting to go up in like the first half of the first round. But it depends on the calculator. He said to get into the first, minimum value is 590. So they would need 180 points to get up there. It would be the second and multiple picks. Yeah, that's why I think trading up into the first round, that would shock me. I just don't think they do it. I don't think it's worth it with everything. So let's see, what would it and this was the question, and Lance answered it before it even came up from Captain Underpants of what it would take to trade into the first round. So it would take, like Lance said, it would take multiple picks unless you're also willing to trade a pick for next year. Like, would you trade this year's second and next year's second to go up into the bottom couple picks in the first round? I don't know. That would be more kicking the can down the road. And the way the Steelers are set up with how many players they have on their rosters in years to come, the draft, particularly next year and beyond, could be important depending on how they work their extensions and everything else. So, it skipped ahead on me. I'm really sorry, everyone. I've got to jump back to try to, sometimes the live chat does that. So here we go. I found the question I was looking for. Said thoughts on drafting Tanner Muse as a hybrid linebacker safety depth. When it comes to specific players, couldn't tell you. That is not a position that I've dove into yet. In order to see what's available when the Steelers could be picking. I've looked at edge, I've looked at quarterback, I've looked at running back, just because those are the high profile positions. I've looked at line, I've looked at other things. I haven't really dove into safety. So to put a specific name, if the Steelers, if you're talking about a hybrid linebacker safety, I think that's a position that they very well could draft. And if the right person's there, I am all for them pulling the trigger on that position. Okay. Here's Gyro. I know that's how he feels. He said, I would be shocked if they don't take Dobbins, Taylor, or Swift if they are there. You want to know the truth? Depends on who you look at, because according to some draft places like CBS Sports and those others, the Steelers, if they took Dobbins at 49, that would be considered a reach. He is in the 50s and 60s on many drafts. So I don't want them reaching at that point. I'm not saying that they're correct, but that's just where other places have them. I have a feeling if now, I guess, is it Taylor? I think he's the one that's that's projected in the first round. But other than that, I'm not exactly sure. So, okay. So let's see what else we have. I don't know if Lance was asking for my Twitter handle or somebody else's. This was Explore Your World 2019. This has to go back to, I think, what he was saying before. The only hole in defense is third safety. Other than that, the whole draft could be offensive. I think they could use that safety position, but at the same time, I think a bigger need is, look how often the Steelers just didn't play two inside linebackers all season last year. Mark Barron played more snaps than Vince Williams. Do you want Vince Williams on the field all the time? If not, then you need another linebacker or that linebacker safety hybrid. So could it be Ulysses Gilbert III? I would love for it to be. I was really intrigued by him last year. I like his contributions on special teams. I really want to see what he's capable of doing. But if he's not the answer, then you don't really have anything else there. That's why I think they could add a depth piece there. And frankly, I've constantly said I'm still not shocked if the Steelers go edge rusher with their top pick, because if Bud Dupree is not signed long-term, they'd be in a much better boat to have an edge rusher who is that guy like Anthony Chickillo was last year when he was healthy, who comes in when the other guys need to step out, who's that third outside linebacker to come in and play those snaps, and then could be available to be the guy next year if there is no Bud Dupree beyond 2020. So that to me is the biggest. We talked about it some of the preview. I think cornerback would be someone completely buried on the depth chart because of the guys they have and even the backups that they have. So Captain Underpants asked, would a tag and trade surprise you? Yes, it would. I just don't think the Steelers don't use the tag in order to get more value out of someone. That would surprise me if they traded Dupree. Here's a shocking draft thing for you. I didn't do this one because this is something I thought about before, and I'm going to leave the question up there. I've thought about this in the past that would be absolutely crazy. This would be my wildest scenario of the NFL draft. The Steelers get an edge rusher that they really like in the first round. Let's say it's someone like a Terrell Lewis from Alabama. That's one name that I know that's out there that would be, he's projected in the early 40s. So that would be someone, if the Steelers got him at 49, would be a logical pick. Let's say the second round comes around and the best player out there by far is another edge rusher. You know what? I'd be like, okay, go edge rusher, and rescind the tag and have some money to do some other things. That's just something, and hope that one of those two guys could start. That would be crazy. I don't think they should do it. It would have to line up perfectly. But in one of those, what's the wildest thing you could dream up? More, completely different than Tony Defio's article that came out on Wednesday about the Steelers trading back into the first round 5 times and trading away, I think, Bud Dupree and Steven Nelson and all their draft picks in order to do it, like all their draft picks for the next couple drafts. That would be crazier, I have to admit. But that whole thing, I said, load up on edge rushers and then save yourself some money by rescinding the tag on Dupree. Ryan Kellerman with the question of saying, who do you think they'll like enough to trade back up into the first? That's the thing. I don't know. And this is part of us because of Steeler fans, and we're looking at what the Steelers can do. Like last year, we were looking at who would be available at 20 versus do you trade up to get one of the Devons. This year, we're so focused on what's available at 49, it's really easy to fall in love with what could be there at 49. So much so that you don't think that you need something in the 20s. I don't know of anyone that would be worth that. It would have to be something that the Steelers would do. Kevin Colbert himself said it doesn't look like that's in the cards for them this year. Well, which would also that would be what would also make it shocking. Okay. Holly says the biggest shock would be signing Brian Anthony Davis to replace BJ Finney since he already owns the pants. Gotta love that one. So here we go. Some people are having some conversations about Ben Roethlisberger. That's great. Keep on with those. Well, if anything good comes out of those, I'll bring him up. So Michael O'Malley, I think this is his wish list for the draft. Says safety, running back, linebacker, and a big body, fast wide receiver. I don't know if he's talking about that being for the whole draft or if that's what you took at the top of the draft. I could see that either way. Like I said, safety is a position I haven't really looked into yet with this draft. That's something I'm only going to do that when the show's over, because that's pretty intriguing. Sippy Boy says I could see them getting an inside linebacker. Yeah, if I'm not sure that the right inside linebacker is going to be there at 49. That's the biggest thing that I'm not sure about, or else I'd be more confident with inside linebacker. I do think the right outside linebacker, edge rusher, could be there, but that's one of several positions that could be there. Okay. You guys know how I feel about this, where everyone says we need an RB at 49. I say no. Because as soon as you think you're going to need a running back, that's when you're going to pull an Artie Burns reach on a running back. And the last thing I want everyone locked in to do is thinking that they have to take a running back. The only way you take a running back is one that you have at 49 is if he's someone that you feel is going to be a game changer. And frankly, as what I talked about on Stack Week, I mean, name a running back that the Steelers could draft that would be that would actually be any higher than third come week 1. Doesn't mean he doesn't move up before then, but the Steelers are going to have James Conner as their RB1 in week 1 unless he gets healthy unless he isn't healthy. That's just what they're going to do. And for those, I know I don't want to get off the running back too much. And for those of you down on Benny Snell, I'm going to go back and say once again, watch the all 22 of week 17 against the Ravens. I know Steeler fans don't want to watch that game again because of how it ended up and how it was along the way. But seriously, go back and watch him run in there and say, you know what? He's looking like an NFL running back. That's just me. Okay. So let's see what else we have. Some people not liking what some people saying about our one franchise quarterback, but here we go. Musa, I can't even say the name. I'm sorry, I'm going to mess it up. We'll say Musab. I'll say that. Would Jalen Hurts be a good pick? I would say not at 49. Not at 49. I could see them if they really wanted him. He could very well be available in their third round pick at 102. Unless I just don't. If they took him at 49, I would feel like they took a major reach. So I don't think the Steelers are going to do anything with quarterback. I know Lance Williams and I disagree with this. I put it out there to say the reason the Steelers didn't sign a free agent backup quarterback is that the only reason to sign one is if you think one's available who could win the Super Bowl with this team. And if he's not, then don't spend the money because the Steelers believe they can win the Super Bowl with Ben Roethlisberger. So if you don't think why spend a bunch of money on a player that you think is only going to get you part of the way? If we had a repeat of 2019, you're better off just trying to make the team overall better. And then you're not going to have to rely on the quarterback, but that's just my own personal opinion. Based on the way the Steelers addressed the position or didn't address the position this year as to why. I'm not saying it was the right decision. I'm saying that is why. So Explore that said, thank you for addressing the comments. You are welcome. You bring up good questions. They're going to be brought up, except you guys are probably bringing up great questions further down that I'm nowhere close to yet. So apparently there's someone in here trolling. If I come across it, then I'll just issue a timeout. Haven't been noticing it that much. So, but I'll bring up Explore Your World again because you're bringing up good stuff. I'm not opposed to getting a good third safety at pick 49. And then the entire rest of the draft being offensive players. I'm not. I don't think it has to be offensive players. I think they should get their best players available. I love what the Steelers did in free agency this year because it was what they did last year. They addressed glaring needs in free agency so they had more freedom in the draft. They didn't do it 2 years ago with outside linebacker. It's not outside linebacker, with inside linebacker. And then the draft did not go their way and they didn't get one there either. And then they were in trouble. And that's why we had Vince Williams and John Bostic, and they tried to get LJ Fort in just on passing plays, and then they were guessing wrong. And that's when you have John Bostic guarding Keenan Allen on a 3rd and 5 or whatever it was for the Chargers to win the game and mess up the Steelers season. So you don't kind of want those kind of things. Lance said he was working. I finally got caught up to that. Okay. Steeler fan, well, that's not what I did because that had something I went to, but it skipped on me. Let's see if I can bring that back up here. I was going to Steeler fan 74. So, but we got a lot of good stuff. I got to remember what it was. I got thrown off guard. So, who's bad? The pants. Yes, Lance. I love it. So here's Wes brought up something as I'm heading back up to try to find Steeler fan 74's comment. He said, I wouldn't mind trading a 5th for wide receiver John Brown of the Bills. I don't know. Would he be available with a 5th? I would do that if they would do it. So here we go. Just still looking. There was the tag and trade. I'm so sorry about the jump on the live chat. That happens to us sometimes, and then I don't want to miss stuff. So there we go. I'm sorry, Steeler fan 74. I lost your comment. But we will find some other ones. It was a good one, and now I can't even remember what it was. I think it was just listing some various positions. Okay. So Varys brought up something. He said Edmonds is the weakest link on the defensive safety with the intent to start would be nice. There was a comma in there or a period. It's like Edmonds is the weakest link on the defense. I can't say that he's not, but you also got to look at who those other defenders are that are all pretty nice. So I almost did a Brian Anthony Davis, thing. I mean, okay, we'll do it this way. Okay. So I'm not going to get down on Edmonds. I still want to see what he does this year. I want to see him progress. If he doesn't, then I think we know he's not the answer. I think he could, they could all mesh, and that would be great. But for all yes, he could be the weakest link in the secondary, but he could also be, no offense, he could be the ugliest supermodel at the fashion show, if you know what I mean. Meaning, I still made the argument that Bud Dupree last year was the weakest link on the defensive front, and that's because the Steelers' defensive line had 4 defensive linemen because they included Stephon Tuitt ranked in the top 11 on Pro Football Focus. And I've said before, I think Pro Football Focus rankings are more accurate for players that instantly engage in the line of scrimmage with contact because it's easier to grade what they're supposed to do. When you're talking defensive secondary, you'd have to know the play call, which makes it harder. So with all that, and of course, TJ Watt is TJ Watt, I would say Bud Dupree was probably the weakest link on the defensive front, but that doesn't mean he was a bad player. It just means they had a great defensive front, and that could end up being the case with Terrell Edmonds as well. I'm not going to argue that he's the weakest link there, but I don't know that they're ready to upgrade. But if you take the 49th pick and the right safeties there, and you could play them in sub-package football, and you find out that that's a better option later in the season or next season, then there you go. Then you go with it. So it is what it is. Ezra wants to know if Clay Matthews is still out there and affordable. From what I understand, he is still out there. There were some reports of where he was going, and then I didn't hear anything finalized. I don't know if he's affordable. the Steelers, if anything else, could say, hey, let's bring him in at a decent price, because if nothing else, we could at least replace the hair of Anthony Chickillo. So that's pretty good. A lot of people, like Snowman says, Chase Claypool at pick 49. I've heard several people throw that name out there. If the Steelers think that's the right move, I'm not opposed to it. And it's funny that I keep saying if the Steelers think it's the right move. We have to admit, we could talk about what we want. I'm sorry if I'm getting away from the live chat for a moment for this. The biggest thing we know about Steeler fans is that we can trust our front office to know more than we do. Not all the other fans in the NFL can say that, because they make some. I mean, I think I could run the Cleveland front office better than the people that they've had there in the past, but that's just me. But I trust the Steelers' evaluation, and if they think Chase Claypool is a great pick at 49, take him. If there's something about it they don't like, they think someone else is better, take that person that's better. I'm all for it. Okay. This is how I feel as well. Explore your world. Man, I brought up a lot of your stuff today. When Connor's healthy, he's a top 15 running back in the league, and he's in the last year of his contract. So there's every reason for him to ball out. That's the other thing. Remember, we got a big boost in production from Bud Dupree when he was in the last year of his deal. Actually, there's more to that. That's an article that I'm going to have coming soon about how with Bud Dupree, how he's got the sweetest deal of any edge defender in the NFL. When you've got the best one in the league opposite of you and the second best interior defensive lineman playing right next to you. Nobody's had that for a long time. And that's the deal that he's got. So not only is he not getting chipped, he's also rarely getting double teamed. So all he has to do is win a one-on-one matchup and he can have a great play. So I'm going to keep going. I know I'm real far behind where you guys are. I'm going to skip over a little bit, especially if it skips ahead on me. So with things about wide receivers, I'm not going to bring up, I see several different comments. So Wes said, if he were there in one of the fourth round picks, I've had a hard time passing on Hurts, to be honest. Yeah, if he's there in the fourth round, I know I said don't take a quarterback in the fourth round or later, but to me, that's a guy that I would have pegged more for the third round. So if he's there in the fourth, I could understand that, because I would feel like they're getting a third round talent in the fourth. So some good stuff. Nice to see you back, Wes. Wes is out there working hard while the rest of us isn't. He's out there driving truck, making sure goods are getting other places, getting the places they need to go, so things can go on with us with life as much as they can. I know some of you other people in the live chat are probably in the same boat, and some of you might be on the opposite end of the spectrum, but I know that specifically is from Wes. And I know I missed you on Stat Geek Tuesday night, Wes, because I know you're probably out there working hard, and I'm just glad you could join us here on Saturday. Sorry. I just felt like I needed to say that. So here's what Dallas says. The moves we've made should make us contenders. Plus, we still have the draft, so we should be set. Yeah, I mean, I think the Steelers are in a great place to not screw this draft up. You don't have to go at one specific position. And that's why I've been so anti-running back is that I don't want the Steelers to feel like they have to take any position. I don't think they need to. Go out there, take what's best where you are, and let the chips fall where they are. You're probably going to pick up, of course they're going to look at some of these other positions that they need a little bit deeper. Of course they're going to look deep at wide receiver because they always draft one. Okay. So it is just how it is. So here we go. Can we Frank Webb wants to know, can we get a pick for Bad's used Finny pants? So maybe I should talk Bad into using the Finny pants for a giveaway for the website. So it is what it is. Okay. It's funny because Dallas says he likes moving Spillane to safety. I don't know that he's got the speed. I've got people that keep telling me that I had people soon the season over telling me that we needed to move Devin Bush to safety. I'm like, they didn't move up to the 10th round pick to take a linebacker, play him at linebacker for a season, and move him to safety. That's not what they did. That's one. Two, then who else is playing linebacker? That's another good question. But still, we don't need to go into that one right now. So my live chat just jumped a bunch. So I'm going to see if I can catch up with you guys in these last 5 minutes here. So um, I'm glad because you said not being political. This was some news this afternoon. I didn't know how much we want to go to it, but X said, but the not being political, but the president said he would like for the NFL season to start on time. So I put an article out about that. I'm like, changing it now isn't worthwhile. You should make your schedule, want to press on with your schedule. And if something happens later on that makes you have to change it, then change it when it has to be changed. You don't want to not move forward now and then not be ready if everything's fine at some point. It's kind of like my summer vacation. I'm not canceling granted, I was supposed to go on a cruise in May, but we canceled that forever ago. But just my summer beach vacation that my family goes on in July. I'm not canceling my vacation. I'm hopeful to go on my vacation, but I understand that I might not be going on my vacation. That's kind of the mentality I like with the NFL moving forward. Going to bring up Explorer again. He's talking about Ulysses Gilbert III, Ola, and Tuzar Skipper that are your depth pieces. Yes, they are. But are we confident in them as depth pieces? What happens if they're not? That's why I don't mind adding more depth. So we'll just see. I mean, sometimes positions the Steelers don't draft in the draft and that they don't address in free agency tells us more about their confidence in players that we might not necessarily have. So we'll see what happens. So this was where Steeler fan 74 had said it. He said that he wanted the edge or interior offensive line and another wide receiver weapon is what he would like in the draft. I'm probably not even just that, specifically the top spot, which I could agree. Lance says, what does Edmonds look like if he reaches his ceiling? That's a great question. I don't know. I mean, he's a physical freak, so you would think that he could have a very high ceiling. I just don't know that he'll ever play to that ceiling. I'm just saying based on his physical attributes. So it's interesting. Here's someone else brought this up before about the Steelers trading for J.J. Watt to have all of them on the same team. I don't think that's something that's realistic at this point. But I'll be honest with you, it could be something as he's getting a little bit older and maybe not expecting such a high contract that if he ever says, hey, wouldn't it be fun to go to be a free agent or something and go join the Steelers in a couple of years just so we could all be on the same team? Go for it. I just don't think it can be in the cards right now. So, so let's go. I'll see if I can bring up just a couple more as I try to catch up. So, and it's so funny. Some people loved Mark Barron. Mule Skinner said, he's like, I was never a Barron guy for a 1-year lease. Some people liked Barron. Some of them don't. Mm-hmm. This was George saying, trying to make me an RB lover. I'm like, I am an RB lover. I do. I love running back. I like the ones we have. That's just me. I think I actually got more from Benny Snell watching his film from last year than what I thought going into it, is one of the big things. And we have him for one more year. Why not ride the James Conner bus as long as you can, if you can give us the time? And remember, people, I've said it so many times, 32 teams in the NFL last season, only 12 of those 32 teams had their starting running back play in all 16 games. 20 of them did not. It's what happens with the position. You're going to have guys out. So Wes said something that we actually brought up on Stat Geek a little bit. He says, feel strongly that we should draft another safety, move Edmonds to the dime backer role. What we talked about on Stat Geek is if you want to draft a safety that you're not ready to throw on the starting lineup, you keep Edmonds out there as your strong safety. Then when you go into sub package, then move Edmonds up into that dime backer role and have the other safety come on and playing the other safety position to get them on the field and then see what you have. So that's just one of those things. Okay. So it's very interesting. So the Steelers could do some things. It's funny. What would shock me might not shock you. And what might shock you, I might be like, oh, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if the Steelers did that. My thing is, and this is what probably it's funny because I don't want to get tied to a position, and I definitely don't want to get tied to a name for the Steelers at 49. Because when you do and it doesn't work out, you're left, oh, what are they going to do? I'm not doing that. It's crazy because last year so many people got tied on the name of Devin Bush, and it actually came true, which usually doesn't. Every other time I try to pinpoint a name of what I think the Steelers are going to do with the first pick they have, it hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. So other than last year with the name being Devin Bush and what it took to actually get him, because there was no way they were going to get Bush where they were. And some mock drafts had him even going there, which would have been crazy. So I think everything that the Steelers add right now, they don't have to infuse a starter. And that's a really good place to be. I know it doesn't mean that these guys that they draft wouldn't have a chance to start, but I don't see that they have to start anywhere. And that's a really good thing to be, because some people were even saying, hey, what about, couldn't an offensive lineman, wouldn't you want to guard? Guess what? They could start, but they don't have to. You've got Wisniewski. You've got Filer could bump down if one of the tackles is playing well. You've got other options there. You could say wide receiver. I don't know that they would start unless they come out and absolutely they wouldn't have to. If you're going into this draft and every player that you draft is someone who doesn't have to start, but if they come out and show that they're better than what you have, that just made the Steelers a better football team. That's what happens. And I think that's the situation that the Steelers are in. And that's exciting. That's really exciting to think about it. Okay. Here's Wes. He says, Dave, thank you. You guys keep me sane. That's what I hope for a lot of you all. I love doing the podcasts. I look forward to them. I hope you all look forward to them. You probably look more forward to different people other than me to have to look at or listen to. And that's okay. But we're still giving them to you every day. We're giving you at least one every day. I know on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're giving you 2, just because those shows were just naturally going too long. So we we're doing 2 shows. If you're trying to catch them live on YouTube and want a set schedule, there's generally not one. I try to go 9:00 on Tuesdays, within 10 minutes, early or later, every Tuesday. So if you're tuning in around 9:00 on Tuesday, you should be good. That's around 8, between 8:45 and 9 is usually what time we go on Thursdays. On the shows with Lance, you never quite know, because with him being on the West Coast, it's really tough to figure out those times. Brian and Tony generally start anytime between 5 and 5:30 on Mondays. So if you're looking for specific times, that's some windows we can help give you. So we thank you all so much for all that. Make sure you are going in and checking out BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. It really is your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers. We've still got the articles coming out. We were trying to do the watch party where people watch one specific game and then talk about it after they watch it. We have various different things. We've got the commentary, we've got breakdown, we've got breaking news, we've got things from different people. We had an article. It's funny because sometimes you just 2 different takes. I had an article today about how people need to remain positive about the NFL season starting and try to live that way. Tony comes on with an article not long after that with how depressing it is that he doesn't think the NFL season is going to start on time. So obviously we don't all feel the same way. And it's okay. But that's what you're going to get there. So make sure you're checking in there. Make sure you are, if anything, go in on the YouTube channel, like the video. That really helps us out a lot. Thank you all for great live chat. I'm so sorry that you were so much that I couldn't even catch everything. But I just appreciate the interaction. That's my most favorite part. That's why I like doing this show, is to be able to interact with you all. So thank you very much. We will see you sometime. It won't be me. It should be Jeff and Lance for the Homer and Hater show tomorrow on Sunday sometime. They've been doing that in the afternoon some, but I don't know what time they plan on going. So just make sure you got that notification stuff ready to go, so you know when the show's starting, and that you are going to tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe. Thanks for joining me.